My name is Malik Carter, and my life is all messed up. For the past few months, I've been homeless and living out of my car. Not only that, but I also have 2 younger siblings depending on me to rescue them out of poverty. I had dreams of signing a huge NIL deal and playing for one of the top college football teams in the country. But as an undersized, below average high school player, I quickly realized those dreams were unrealistic. So now I'm here, Northeast Mississippi Community College. This isn't your average football story. Yeah, it's much deeper than that. This is about survival. So stick around because I can promise you it's only gonna get crazier from here. Now, when you hear Memphis, Tennessee, the first thing that probably comes to your mind is Ja Morant and the Grizzlies, right? Or maybe you think about Memphis University. Or, since Memphis is the home of the blues and the birthplace of rock and roll, maybe you think about the music playing down on Beale Street. Well, for my story, we're gonna have to go to a place not many people want to visit, and that's Ridgecrest Apartments in North Memphis. This is where it all started. I grew up here with my grandmothers Stanette and my mom LaShonda. Now, my mom's had me when she was only 16, so she was a kid herself. But my granny, she was like the glue that held everything together. Granny made sure I had food in my stomach and my homework in my backpack. She really added structure to my life and kept me and my mom's in check. Well, all that changed when my grandmother passed away. Everything fell apart. My mom wasn't able to handle the grief, and slowly but surely, our life began to spiral out of control. Shortly after my granny's death, my mom met Kenny Mack. I would see him around the neighborhood every so often, but I never knew much about him. Well, that was until he and my mom's ended up hooking up. He was a lot older than her, but it seemed like she really liked him. Not only that, he became somewhat of a father figure to me. I was always told I didn't have a father and I was born by immaculate conception. So when Kenny came into our lives, I really took to him. He moved me and my mom into his crib. It was over by New Horizon Apartments on Kingsgate. It was only a 2-bedroom house, but like 6 people lived there, and Kenny was the only guy. Now at the time, I didn't know any better. I was told all the other ladies that lived there were my aunties, but of course, I later learned that they were all working for Kenny Mack, selling twat. Fast forward a few years later, I now had a little brother named Martavius, and my mom had just given birth to my little sister Mercedes. We no longer lived with Kenny Mack though. I guess my mom's had gotten tired of working for him, so she actually ended up getting a job working overnight at the Purple Diamond Gentlemen's Club. Now this was right around the time my childhood went out the window. I literally started taking care of my siblings. I'd cook us dinner, clean the kitchen, make bottles for Mercedes, iron Martavius's clothes for school, take the trash out, cut the grass. I literally became the man of the house. Although my life was pretty stressful, things were good. The bills were paid and everybody seemed to be happy. Well, that was until Kenny Mack started coming back around. Out of all the women he had, it was just something about my mama that he couldn't let go. Every couple days I'd be leaving for school and I'll see him passed out drunk on the couch. At that point, I was old enough to see what it was. I didn't look at him like a father figure anymore. Nah, he was just another nigga trying to spread my mama's buns. But look, I still remember the first time he put his hands on her. I came home from practice and she was sitting at the kitchen table with a black eye and a bloody lip. I wanted to react, but I just didn't know what to say. And sadly, this became a common occurrence. Every time they start fighting, I'd get my siblings and I'll take them up the street to the park until they were done. Like I said, man, this had become our new normal. Well, that was until the day our lives changed forever. I'll never forget, it was a Tuesday. My mom never showed up to pick me and Martavius up from Latchkey, so we ended up having to walk home. I still remember seeing Kenny's car outside and the front door was wide open. As I approached the front of the house, I could hear Mercedes screaming at the top of her lungs. I knew something was wrong. I was scared to death, but somehow I still managed to walk through the door. There was nothing in this world that could have prepared me for what I saw next. I turned the corner and there was Kenny Mack, laying on the floor in a pool of blood, and my mom was just sitting there with a blank stare on her face. Yeah, that was the end of Kenny Mack. After that night, everything changed. As a matter of fact, that was the last time I ever stepped foot in that house. Me, Martavius, and Mercedes ended up moving in with my aunt on the other side of town. She was hella cool and took pretty good care of us. I even remember thinking at one point, maybe my life was gonna start getting better. But little did I know, that was only the start of a new set of problems. Shakita Bishop, or Auntie Keita as I used to call her, this is who took me and my siblings in after my moms went to prison. Now, she's not my real auntie or anything like that, but she's actually my mom's best friend. They used to work together at the Purple Diamond. Now, I know what you're thinking, but hey, looks can be deceiving. From what I heard, Keita B used to pack the house. The club even created a special night just for her. They called it Husky Mondays, and if you showed up early enough, They give you half off barbecue riblets from the kitchen. Anyways, after she moved us in, she stopped working at the club. The state actually started sending her money each month for being our guardian, so that meant she no longer had to sell her snappy nappy dugout. But like I said, man, things were good early on. Kita tried her best to make us not feel the absence of our mother, but all that changed once her boyfriend moved in. Dude is a straight dirtbag. I mean, the nigga's name is Kennard. When he first got there, I tried to be cool, but I could tell immediately we was gonna have issues. He got him a little job at Crumpy's frying hot wings and started acting like he was big dog or something. Well, things got overly heated one day after he tried to discipline my little brother like he was his daddy or something. I was getting the best of his bitch ass, so this nigga really ran in the kitchen and got a dirty butter knife out the sink and sliced me with it. That's why I got this scar on my face right now. But yeah, after that fight, my aunt said one of us had to go. So at the age of just 16 years old, I found myself homeless. I definitely felt some type of way my aunt chose her boyfriend over me, but I just looked at it like it was what it was. I knew I had to get my hands on some real money so I can get a place to stay and move my siblings out from over there, but honestly, I didn't know where to start. I spent the first few days really just wandering around trying to find a job, but I quickly found out nobody wanted to hire a 16-year-old kid with no experience. My next move was to go to the pawn shop and try to get rid of a few of my retros. Now those were the last gifts that my mom bought me before she left, so I definitely didn't want to let them go, but yeah man, buddy gave me $47 total for both pair. I spent that little shit the same day. Look man, I was asked out and it definitely wasn't looking too good. Well, that's when I decided to turn on my hustle. I went down to Bill Street and set up shop. I got my old football helmet in a bucket and I started taking up donations. I told people I was raising money for new football uniforms. Bro, I made a killing. People saw how young I was and immediately felt sorry for me and wanted to help. Plus, the majority of them was leaving the club drunk as hell, so they didn't even realize how much money they was handing me. After about a week or so of hustling, I was able to buy my first car. It's a 1992 Ford Taurus. Now, the heat doesn't work and neither does the air. The brakes need changed and sometimes it leaks oil, but hey, it gets me from point A to point B. My junior year of high school was definitely the worst year of my life. Not only was I homeless and dirty, but I also kind of stunk a bit as well. At the time, I was either sleeping in my car or, staying in abandoned houses. So that meant I didn't have a place to shower and, watch my winky. Plus, I took damn near all my clothes and shoes back over to my aunt's crib for Martavius to wear. So that meant all I had was like 2 shirts, 1 pair of jeans, and some dirty ass hot top forces. I went from being somewhat popular the year before to being the dirty, stinky nigga everybody avoided. I swear, at one point it got so bad that a few of my classmates tried to get me suspended for being musty. I ended up having to have a meeting with the counselor at the school. She wanted to make sure I didn't need any help and everything was good at home. I knew if I told her the truth, I'd end up in foster care, and that would mean I definitely wouldn't be able to help my siblings, so I just lied and told her everything was cool. I eventually landed my first job at the LA Fitness not far from the school. So as soon as I got out of class for the day, I would head straight over there and start my shift. My manager, he was cool as hell. He knew about my situation, so like an hour before closing, he would let me use the washing machine at the gym to wash my clothes, and then he would cover my job at the front desk so I can sneak off to the locker room and take a shower. Now, of course, since I was still in school, I could only work part-time at the gym, so that meant I wasn't making much money. But with the little bit of money I was getting, I would head over to Walmart to buy a few groceries for myself and some for my aunt's crib as well. Football season was right around the corner, but it was no way I was gonna be able to play. All my free time after school was spent working, trying to save up for an apartment. So yeah, I had already made up in my mind that my playing days were done. Now I'm not finna sit here and lie to y'all and say I was the best at the school or anything like that, but as a sophomore, I did get to play on JV and I even suited up a few games on varsity as well. But look, when the coaches seen I wasn't showing up to the preseason strength and conditioning workouts, they became concerned. Well, one of them in particular, Coach Chadwick, my guy. It's crazy, when I first met this dude, I definitely didn't like him, but being honest, he ended up being one of my biggest blessings. Once he found out I was homeless, he immediately wanted to help, but I had to tell him straight up, foster care wasn't an option. So this man really moved me into the basement at his crib. He and his wife had a nice ass house, and even though I was sleeping on the couch, it was still way better than sleeping in my car or, some abandoned building. I had my own bathroom down there so I could shower and everything, and Miss Chadwick cooked almost every night, so I was really eating good. Now, I still didn't play football my junior year. I just worked and went to school. Coach made me pay the water bill at the crib, which wasn't nothing but like $40. So the rest of my money, I either just put it into my savings or, I sent some to my siblings so they could be straight. My senior year of high school came and I was finally able to play football again. I stopped working at the gym since I had a little bit of money saved up, so now my focus was on trying to earn a scholarship to a D1 school. But unfortunately, things definitely didn't go as planned. Ass. That's the best way to describe my senior season. Me sitting out that one year definitely had a bigger impact than I was expecting. I mean, for some reason, I just couldn't get into my groove. Either I was dropping passes or just completely running the wrong route. I was all over the place, and not to mention I'm extremely undersized, so that definitely didn't help either. When it came time to start looking for scholarships, bro, I didn't have nothing. I mean, literally nobody was interested. Well, that's how I ended up here, Northeast Mississippi Community College. Honestly, this was my only option, and I had to try out to be on the team. But it's all good though. I know if I'm given the right opportunity in this offense, I'm gonna shine regardless. Anyways, I ended up moving out of Coach Chadwick's basement and into the dorms here on campus. I used some of the money I had saved up to decorate the place and, just get everything I needed to feel comfortable. All the guys on the team here seem cool as hell, and the coaches seem like they're open to actually give me a chance to succeed. So yeah, bro, I feel pretty good about being here. The first game of my JUCO season is right around the corner. Now, we got a pretty tough schedule, but honestly, I'm not too concerned about wins and losses. I just want to make sure I go out there and do my thing, so that way once it's all said and done, I can get that D1 scholarship offer I've been chasing and hopefully sign a huge NIL deal that's going to change my family's lives forever. When you think of JUCO football, the first thing that probably comes to mind is the empty stands and the crappy fields, right? Or, maybe it's the dirty locker rooms and the showers that never have hot water. Or maybe it's the small dorm rooms with no air conditioning. I know for most athletes, JUCO is seen as the hard road. It's not as glamorous as Division I or even Division II. Oftentimes, it can be looked at as a step down or even a fallback option. All of that may be true, but for me, JUCO is only the start of something much bigger. Life here on campus has been smooth. Even though the school is located in Mississippi, it's still only like 30 minutes away from where I grew up, so it kind of still feels like I'm at home in Memphis, to be honest. Since it's a junior college, the classrooms are basically the same size as they were in high school. I'd say there's only ever about 10 or 12 students in each class, but the weird thing is some students just graduated from high school, while others are like retired with grandkids. But I can't lie, bro, them old people be cool as hell though. Every day they serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the cafeteria. For the most part, we all eat together and then we just walk back over to the dorm. So it really feel like we got our own little community. Now, of course, since I don't live in Memphis anymore, I no longer work at that LA Fitness. I probably could have just transferred to a different location, but if I'm being honest, bro, I was tired of working there. Plus, now since I'm staying on campus, I don't have to worry about buying food every day, so I just been delivering for DoorDash in my free time for a little extra bread. And oh yeah, y'all remember that Ford Taurus I bought? Man, that bitch died on me in the middle of a delivery. I ended up just leaving it on the side of the road and walking back to campus. Luckily, I still had the customer's food, so I just snacked on that while I walked. But yeah, I had to dip into my savings to buy a new little grocery getter. It's a 2007 Nissan Altima. Now, I know it's not much, but hey, it's reliable and it's a lot better than that rust bucket I was driving before. Alright, so look, I had to sneak out the dorm so I could talk to y'all boys for real because she be tripping. Anyways, I'm gonna be honest, bro, I completely lost focus there for a minute. Chasing a scholarship and trying to get some NIL money, rescuing my siblings. The whole reason for me being here all started to take a back seat. Instead of staying focused and being locked in, I let the distractions completely take over. Girls, girls, girls. Bro, I've never seen this many beautiful women in my life. I swear, I used to think those models that be on Instagram were like AI or something, but nah, it's a couple of them here on campus. I remember when I first got here, I tried to talk to one, but unfortunately, it definitely didn't go according to plan. What's up, my baby? How you doing over there, Redbone?
Bitch, you is ugly.
Well, damn. The party life here on campus isn't all that, so basically everybody just goes to this small after-hour spot like 10 minutes away. My boy Dom, he's the one that put me onto it. He plays on the team as well, super cool dude from Texas. And then we got our dog Chase, he a wannabe pretty boy from the DMV. The play was always the same. Me and Dom would hang back and let Chase do all the talking. Then after about 20 minutes of being there, we'd all be stuffed in my tours headed back to the dorm room for some festivities. This went on every single day for the first month I was here at school. I was showing up to class hungover, running off like 2 hours of sleep, and then I'd be damn near about to pass out at practice from all that alcohol the night before. They say God works in mysterious ways, and I believe it, because as soon as my car broke down, all that partying stopped. Now, I only ever see Dom at practice, and I haven't talked to that nigga Chase in I don't know when. Luckily though, that was around the time I met Kiana. We got paired together on a project in chemistry class and we've been locked in ever since. She's funny, creative, goofy, loyal, like bro, she's the real deal. And not only that, but she can cook. See, before we started dating, I was either eating in the cafeteria or, coming back to my dorm room having ramen noodles, or, occasionally I'll probably dig into the customer's food on one of my deliveries. But now, everything's different. Also, she lost her pops when she was a kid, so she's able to somewhat relate to everything I've been through. Now, I know you're not supposed to vent to a woman, but bro, y'all don't understand. This girl is different. She not only gets my pain, but she also keeps me focused on what's important. You know what? I'ma just go ahead and say it. I know y'all gonna judge me for it, but it is what it is. Your boy is in love. After I hooked up with Kiana, bro, I locked back in. She provided the structure to my life that I had been missing, and it didn't take long before the results started showing up in the classroom and on the football field. I started living in the film room. I was literally in there more than I was in my dorm. I realized early on in camp that with my athletic ability, I could do anything I wanted on the field. Yeah, I'm undersized, but my speed and athleticism makes up for all that. My problem was I didn't fully understand the game, so of course at times I would get lost in the offense. But look, watching all that film definitely helped me become a better player. Once I added all that knowledge to my natural God-given abilities, bro, I became virtually unstoppable. Right now, literally no schools are interested in me. Well, there's Missouri State, but the coach there wants me to come and play corner, and I don't really know about all that. But look, I feel like if I go out there and do my thing on the field this season, everything else will take care of itself. I know the scouts will be watching, so it's just up to me to go perform. So after that amazing performance I just had in the first game of the season, unfortunately nothing really changed. Like no new offers came in, nothing. Of course there's Missouri State. Obviously the coach is interested in me. He's ready to offer me a scholarship, but Missouri State is kind of like the ugly girl that I don't want. Like bro, you cool, but move around. I'm not interested. So y'all boys just witnessed me completely dominate the first 3 games of the season. I honestly don't think I could have played any better. Well, after all of that, I still only have interest from one school, and that's Missouri State. Now, my coach believes that the teams aren't showing interest because of my height and a few other inconsistencies, but it is what it is. We've only got 2 games left in the regular season, and odds are no major offers are going to be coming in. So with all that being said, I decided to just go ahead and commit to the Missouri State Bears. Since I'm officially committed, I decided to just go ahead and end my JUCO season. There's no need to risk injury trying to get more scholarship offers that'll probably never come in. So for the rest of the year, I'll be taking online classes so I can still get my credits, but once I'm finished packing up my stuff here in my dorm, I'm jumping on the highway headed to Missouri. I got my dorm room packed up and started the 8-hour drive to Missouri State University. I didn't know if my little hoopty was gonna make it the entire way, but luckily, it didn't give me any problems. As soon as I got to the campus, I met with my new academic advisor, Mrs. Karen. She was cool as hell and honestly made me feel right at home. We sat down and picked out a few of my classes for next semester and went over all the requirements I'll need to meet in order to stay eligible to play football. After that, she took me on a tour of the facility. Bro, it's totally different than what they had at my junior college. Like the cafeteria, for example, it's like a real restaurant. See, at my JUCO, you just ate whatever they cooked. But here, they got a real menu for you to order off of. Then we went to tour all the football facilities. Bro, the gym is mind-blowing. All the equipment is brand new and state-of-the-art. Not only that, but each position on the team has their own meeting room. That's where you go over schemes and watch film. And then they got this big-ass auditorium, and that's basically where the team will meet at every day before practice. Y'all gotta understand, I never went on any college visits while I was in high school, so all of this stuff is brand new. Like, I never seen nothing like this. After my campus tour was over, I stopped by the football stadium. The gate was open, so of course I went in and, just sat out on the field. I ain't gonna lie to y'all boys, man, I actually dropped a few tears while I was out there. My only dream since I was a kid was to play Division I football, so for me to finally be here, bro, it all felt surreal. After I got enrolled and, toured the campus, my next stop was over at the leasing office at Elm and Oak Estates. It's these nice ass apartments not too far away from the school. Now, I know normally all athletes are required to stay on campus, but before I agreed to come here, I let the staff and the head coach know my situation, so they agreed to let me stay off campus. That way I could eventually move my siblings in with me. I used a little bit of money I got from my NIL agreement to cover a full year's worth of rent. Now, I was so tempted to maybe just, pay like 6 months worth and keep the rest, but I decided to be responsible. After I signed my lease and got my keys, I went to check out my new apartment. Man, listen, chat, I kid you not, bro. Had I not already cried over at the football field, I definitely would have cried standing in my crib. Not counting that little dorm room I had when I was at the junior college, this would be the first time in my entire life I would have my own space. I mean, not only that, but I was also gonna be able to get my shorties their own room for the first time. Man, bro, I couldn't believe it. After hella trips to IKEA and like 100 Amazon deliveries later, I finally turned my apartment into a home. I used the rest of my NIL money and a little bit of my savings to completely furnish the place. Beds, rugs, mirrors, plates, bowls, TV, shower curtains, like bro, I went all out. Also got myself and Martavius gaming PCs, and I got Mercedes a nice ass laptop. That way it ain't no excuses when it come to doing homework. And before y'all say anything about my style, listen, I just grabbed exactly what they had on display in the store. I didn't have time to be trying to color coordinate and mix and match, so give your boy a break. My siblings will be moving here within the next couple of days. Yeah, I'm supposed to be meeting my aunt halfway to pick them up. I didn't want Martavius to miss any games out of his season by transferring during the middle of the school year, so we just decided to wait until now. I already got everything set up for them to be able to transfer schools, and I'm also in the process of getting benefits with the state. That way we ain't got to worry about food and, everything else. Man, bro, I'll be honest. It took me a long time to get to this point, but I finally made it. Kiana drove down to visit after I moved in and got my crib set up. Now, of course, since she's still in classes, she could only stay a few days, but man, having her here was super dope. We spent a little bit of time exploring the city of Springfield, and then we spent the rest of our time together in St. Louis. Of course, we went to visit the Arch, which was pretty dope, I guess, but we also went to our first baseball game together. That was super lit. Kiana and I have been getting closer than ever. I mean, we already had a pretty strong bond, but those few days together just felt different. It wasn't just us hanging out anymore. It was us talking about real life, what we both want, in the long term, and how we can support each other in achieving our goals. While she was here, we talked about the idea of her moving in later down the line. We just sat there picturing what it would be like to build a home together, how easy it could work, with school and everything else. So we finally decided that once my siblings move in and get settled, she would move in as well shortly thereafter. Before she left, we just sat in the living room. No music, no TV, just us. It felt like everything we talked about when we first met was finally starting to line up. The move, football, school, my siblings. It's wild. When you really think about it, just a few months ago, I was just trying to figure out my next move. Now, here I am in a new home, getting ready for Division I football, and planning my future with someone. It's crazy how life works, man. Now that we've talked about everything else, I guess we might as well talk a little football, right? Well, of course, since I only played in 3 games my freshman year at JUCO, I went ahead and decided to redshirt. I transferred my classes here to MSU and joined the team as a redshirt freshman week 4 of the season. Of course, I didn't see the field at all last year, and I spent a lot of time on the scout team. I know to many people the scout team is looked down upon, but for me, I think it definitely helped. I was able to soak up a lot of game from my coaches and teammates, and overall, I honestly feel like I became a better player. I still remember the first team meeting I was a part of. I sat in the very back with the rest of the walk-ons in red shirts, nervous as hell. I don't know why, but for some reason I didn't feel like I belonged, and I wanted to be invisible for as long as possible. Well, after the team meeting was over, we broke off into our position groups and went to the classroom for a quick film study. Now, of course, since I was brought here to play cornerback, I went with the DBs. I sat in the very back of the classroom there as well. The team was preparing to play Northern Iowa, so they were basically just watching tape of their offense. After the meeting was over, it was time to hit the field, but since the game was only a few days away, they were basically just doing walkthroughs, so I just hung out on the sideline watching practice for the first few days. Well, the next week came and it was finally time to put on them pads. Bro, I was out there getting cooked. For the life of me, I still don't understand what the coach saw that made him think I could play corner. I mean, I have all the speed and athleticism to keep up with the receivers, but my mechanics were all over the place. I went home after the first day in pads, really questioning if I was cut out for D1 football. I called myself trying to watch some Darrelle Revis highlights, trying to get a few pointers, but I ended up just watching freestyle battles on YouTube instead. The next few days of practice were basically the same. Well, coach must have saw that I wasn't picking up on any of the concepts they were trying to teach me, so after only a few days in pads, I got demoted to special teams returning kicks and punts. That move ended up being a blessing in disguise because it gave me the opportunity to show the coaches just how explosive I was. The scouting report on me was that I had below average route running and my catching could also use some work as well. So I guess that's why the coaches never really gave me a chance to play receiver. But after they saw how dynamic I was on special teams, I left them really no choice but to find me a spot within the offense. For the rest of the year, coach used me on the scout team as like a gadget type player. Sometimes I lined up as slot receiver and other times I lined up in the backfield. By me playing that position, I was able to somewhat hide all my weaknesses because I never really ran any deep routes and almost all the passes I called I was wide open, so I didn't have to worry about dropping the ball. Man, listen chat, I was giving the defensive starters hell. I mean, at one point I started getting just as many reps as the ones and twos. I also got into the gym like crazy. Over the past year I added on a little bit of muscle, but not too much because of course I don't want to lose my speed and agility. We kicked this season off versus the USC Trojans. Bro, we got spanked. I was hella excited to play, but I literally only seen the field twice and I didn't get a single reception. It was hella embarrassing because everybody I knew was watching and I didn't even really play. Right now, I'm currently listed as the 4th receiver on the depth chart, so that means odds are I probably won't get too many opportunities. So going into this week's game, I have to really make my presence felt early on if I'm going to get significant playing time in this offense. Man, listen chat, the past 6 months of my life have been a roller coaster. I went from getting demoted to special teams to becoming a college football superstar. I thought I found love, but ended up getting played. I mean, as y'all can see, things got so crazy that I cut my damn hair off in the process of trying to get my life back together. Look, I'm sure you probably already read all the headlines and saw the social media post. Well, tonight, you're finally getting my side of the story. So we gonna pick things up right before we play Marshall, which was week 2 of last season. I ended up meeting my aunt about 2 hours away to pick up my siblings. Of course, we sat down and had lunch and everything before we hit the road. I can't lie, man, I actually kind of missed my aunt Kita, even though I was still kind of pissed off she kicked me out. Anyways, I got my siblings back to the house and showed them their new rooms. Definitely the proudest moment of my life. They couldn't believe I was able to pull it off, and honestly, I couldn't believe it either. We cried and hugged and then cried a little bit more, man. It was really a special moment. Anyways, it was time to go school shopping. Now, luckily for me, my aunt had already got on the basics, which was perfect because I was low-key running out of money. So I just got them a few extra things that they wanted. So of course I took Mercedes to a few stores that she needed to go. And then I took Martavia's big head ass to Foot Locker so he can get a few pairs of retros. I still remember laying in the bed that first night not being able to sleep. I was in disbelief that not only did I get my family back together, but I was also living my dream of playing Division I football. It was game time and I took full advantage of the few opportunities I got when we played Marshall. I went out there and did my thing. But it was actually the game versus SMU that I really put my name on the map. Even though we weren't able to walk away with the win, my individual performance was so impressive that my coaches and teammates were hype. They all knew that this was the start of something special. As the season went on, my game kept elevating, and with every big play, the attention around campus grew. Before I knew it, I started feeling like a local celebrity. I remember when I first got there, it seemed like nobody noticed me, but by week 4 or 5 of the season, I couldn't walk across campus without somebody stopping me for a picture. But I stayed grounded though. Yeah, I had already learned the hard way about letting the cloud and temptation get the best of me back in junior college, so there was no way I was gonna let myself repeat that same mistake. Kiana ended up moving in with us at the end of her first semester. The moment she walked through the door with her bags, I felt like our house finally became a home. Her and Mercedes clicked right away. You'd think that they already knew each other or something. Now Martavius was a little bit different, man. He tried to act like he didn't care, but I could tell deep inside he was actually pretty happy. Now that first week was an adjustment. Between school schedules, practice, late night watching film, I was kind of worried about how much time I'll actually get to spend with Kiana. But hey, she stepped right up like she had already been preparing for this all along. I mean, she helped Mercedes with her homework, cooked dinner when I was too tired, and she even made sure Martavius got up for school in time. It started to feel like the load that I had been carrying by myself wasn't all on me anymore. For the first time in my life, everything seemed to be falling in place. But here's the thing about me. I've been through so much in my life that whenever things get that good, I can't help but second guess it. It's almost like I start bracing myself for the other shoe to drop. So of course, I went looking for a little reassurance. You know, just something to prove that everything really was as it seemed. And well, that's when I broke the one rule that no man should ever break. I went through Kiana's phone. Of course, I knew going through her phone was wrong, but I just had to see for myself. What I wasn't prepared for was what I actually found. Y'all remember my dog Chase, the one I used to party with back at the junior college? Well, turns out he and Kiana had been smashing the whole time I was here at SMU. Bro, I saw everything. Pictures and videos that she would never send me, she was sending to him. There were times when we would be on FaceTime and she would say she was getting off to go to bed when in actuality, he was on his way over. Bro, I was furious. I busted in a room and went off. Of course, she tried to deny it, but I mean, with the proof right there, it wasn't much that she could say. The situation got ugly fast, and I guess one of my neighbors ended up calling the cops. They showed up deep as hell, and of course, since I was the aggressor, I ended up spending the night in the county. I hated that my siblings had to see us fighting like that. I know it probably reminded them how my mom and Kenny Ray used to go at it. I sat in the holding tank all night just wrestling with my emotions. A part of me couldn't believe that Kiana would betray me, and the other part was just angry at myself for letting my guard down. I kept replaying everything. Every late night talk, all the I love yous, every time she swore I was the only one. Man, all that shit was a lie. The next morning when I finally got released and got my phone back, I had over 100 missed calls from my coaches and teammates. I just knew I was done for. I figured my time at MSU was over, so I went straight to the campus and waited outside my coach's office. What happened next caught me by surprise. Instead of being told I was off the team, my coach actually sat down and showed me love. He told me that this was just one simple mistake and I didn't need to let it define me. He told me he had my back and that I wasn't alone. I'm sure my coach didn't know it at the time, but I really needed those words of encouragement more than ever because where my head was at, it definitely wasn't gonna end good. I went through a crazy period of depression after the whole incident with Kiana, but with the help of my siblings, coaches, and teammates, I was able to shake back and get refocused. Everything happened during the middle of the season, so I didn't really have time to sit down and sort through all the pain and emotions, so instead, I just took it all out on the football field. Bro, I went on an absolute tear. I took the college football world by storm. I won almost every single award there is to win as a receiver. Freshman All-American, first team All-American, the Blitnikoff. Bro, I even won the Sean Alexander Award, and I'm not even a running back. But look, when it came time to announce the winner of the Heisman, I just knew they were about to say my name, but it was actually my dog Jeremiah Smith that took home the trophy. Now, obviously, with me having such a huge breakout season, schools from all over the country wanted me to come play for their program. Some of these teams were offering life-changing money, but if you know anything about me, you know that I value loyalty over money. So I did what really nobody expected, and I decided to stay another year here at Missouri State. This program has shown me nothing but love since I got here. From allowing me to stay off campus so I can get my siblings back, to covering up that little incident I got arrested for. So yeah, I'ma stay put, but don't get it twisted, man. They still gave your boy a nice bag. And of course, I took care of my shorties as well. I surprised them with a brand new car. Now, Mercedes is still too young to drive, but I made Martavia's promise to, take her to and from school and wherever else she needed to go. There's extremely high expectations for myself and this team going into this season. Also, I have quite a few doubters as well. Many people think I only had success because I was playing in a weaker conference. So hearing that only made the chip on my shoulder even bigger. But listen, I'm not here to prove anybody wrong. I'm just gonna go out there and show everybody that I really am who I say I am. I can't believe I'm even saying this right now, but welcome to the new crib, chat. At the beginning of this series, I was literally homeless, and now I'm standing here in a brand new multi-million-dollar mansion. It's crazy how life can flip like that. But look, I know y'all excited and want to check the place out, but before we do that, let me take a second to explain how I even got here. The team faced SMU in the first round of the college football playoffs. We had already lost to them earlier in the season, so nobody really expected us to win. From the start of the game, it was a straight shootout. They'd score and the whole stadium would erupt, but every single time, we'd answer right back and steal the momentum. When the final whistle blew, we walked off the field with a 3-point victory and a ticket to the second round. Next up was Oregon. We were massive underdogs going into this game, but we came out swinging. I had one of my best individual performances of the season, and we fought all the way into the end, but still, we fell just short and ended up losing by a single touchdown. The night of the Heisman ceremony felt so surreal. I knew I was the favorite to win, but of course I still had my doubts. When they called my name, the entire room erupted. Cameras flashed, reporters shouted my name, and the whole nation watched me deliver my acceptance speech. That was hands down the best moment of my entire life. After the ceremony was over, I had a tough decision to make: stay another year in college or enter my name into the NFL draft. Of course, my doubters were talking and saying the only reason I had success at MSU was because I was in a weak conference, and NFL scouts were saying I was way too small to have a real impact in the league. Everybody was blowing my phone up just wanting to know what my next move was gonna be, but I needed some time to think. So I decided to disappear. I rented out this dope ass Airbnb in LA for a week. I brought my siblings, of course, and my aunt Kita as well. None of us had ever experienced anything like that, so it was super dope. The majority of the time we were there, I was pretty much ducked off by myself in the pool. I just needed to collect my thoughts and really try to come to a decision. Well, when it was all said and done, my next move was the NFL. I prepared like crazy for the combine. The only thing that was really on my mind was that 40-yard dash. I knew if I could put up an impressive time, my draft stock would skyrocket through the roof. I went out there and ran a 4.23, the fastest time out of all the receivers. I can't even lie, bro, I surprised myself with that one. Once it was all said and done, I was projected to come off the board midway through the first round. Instead of flying out to Green Bay for the draft, I decided to stay in Missouri and throw a draft party right there on campus. The school opened up the team's auditorium to the public and damn near 1,000 fans showed up. I felt it was only right since, they held me down since the whole time I was there. I just sat up on stage waiting for my phone to ring, nervous as hell. Then finally, after 19 picks, I heard my name called. That's when it hit me. My dream had officially come true. I was a Denver Bronco. As I mentioned, there were about 1,000 people who showed up to the draft party, but there was one person I definitely wasn't expecting to see, and that was Kiana. Yeah, she came through and showed major love. It was actually my first time seeing her since everything happened between us. Bro, she looked good as hell. I could tell she had been in the gym. Her skin was clear. She'd been drinking her water. I mean, bro, she was glowing. We chopped it up for a quick second. I thanked her for coming and showing some support or whatever, but then I dipped out to meet up with the guys from the team. Man, listen, I don't know how it happened. I don't know how I got there, but somehow I ended up at the Lux Hotel in downtown Springfield around 3 o'clock in the morning. And yeah, you guessed it, Kiana was there too. We sat down and talked through everything. She apologized like 100 times, and honestly, I forgave her. I mean, come on, I was way too blessed to still be holding on to grudges. But look, after that, Kiana proceeded to do some terrible, disgusting things to my body. I mean, I had never seen her act like that. Either she was really trying to make up for what she did, or she just wanted a piece of that multi-million-dollar contract I had coming. Either way, I didn't give a damn. I had already decided in my head that would be the last time I ever saw her. I just had to see it through one final time. But look, I didn't even wait until I left the hotel room. While she was in the shower, I blocked her from every single social media platform and officially deleted her from my life. The next morning, the Broncos picked me up from my apartment and took me straight to a private jet headed to Denver. It was time for me to sign my contract. I wanted to bring along my siblings, but of course they still had school, so I took the 2-hour flight solo. Now I know y'all probably tired of hearing me say this, but it's just crazy how life works. A kid who was once homeless on the streets of Memphis was now on a private jet eating calamari, flying to sign an NFL contract. Just let that sink in for a second. When I landed at the facility, I was greeted by almost every single member of the staff. Everybody seemed genuinely happy I was there, and the whole atmosphere felt like family. They took me into the office, and that's when it became official. I signed a 4-year, $18 million deal, fully guaranteed with a $9.8 million signing bonus. I was officially rich. The next step was finding a crib. With Martavius starting his junior year and Mercedes starting her freshman year, I wanted to give them some stability. This was like the 3rd time they'd be moving in 2 years, and I hated that. But look, I must have toured like 30 different houses, but none of them felt right. Either they were just too small or too big or just not it. But right before I was about to give up, I found the perfect spot. A beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood sitting at the end of a cul-de-sac. It's got a huge driveway for everybody's cars, a pool in the backyard, a big open kitchen, 4 bedrooms, high ceilings, a fireplace, a massive living room. Listen, chat, it's perfect. But what really sold me on it was the second house above the garage. See, my aunt agreed to move here to Denver to help out with my siblings so I could focus on football, and that space was perfect for her. It's way bigger than her old apartment in Memphis, and it still gives her plenty of privacy. Everything about it just felt right. So I went ahead and made it official and bought my family our first home. Well, chat, I think it's safe to say I finally made it. I was able to pull myself and my family out the struggle and give us a life that we could only dream of. But this isn't the finish line. This is the starting point of something bigger. If I'm gonna be great, I gotta lock in, stay focused, and keep that same hunger that got me here. This next chapter isn't about proving people wrong. It's about proving myself right. Welcome to the league.